Wrestling calendar is filled with ups and downs, whether it be the rise of a group like Team Progress, or the seeming stall of people like Island Boy Apollo or Ernest Youngman that seem to be having a middling year. But despite these moving parts, these cogs in the machine, these various dynamics that spread throughout the territories and indeed end up impacting here in MAW, there always comes, throughout the year, a boiling point, a part where all of those dynamics tend to come together, and points are made, scores are settled, rivalries end and begin, and careers grow, or shrink. And it all begins again. For MAW, that night is in October. It is where it all begins again. It is the anniversary show. It is time to mark 15 years of Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, and what a fantastic 15 years they have been. Tonight, in our main event of the evening, the World's Heavyweight Championship is on the line as Ernest Youngman gets his rematch against George Wolf. Also tonight, Logan Wolfsbane defends the Mid-Atlantic Championship against American Elemental. Frosure and Dewey Archer battle to determine who will be the number one contender to that Mid-Atlantic Championship. The Tag Team Championships are on their line as Robin DeLay and Papa Dan go 2-on-2 with Devil May Care, a team of Acid and Stuntman. Island Boy Apollo will take on long-term rival Scythe, and Kamikaze will have another opportunity at earning a contract by taking on El Mitico Jr. Big night for Mid-Atlantic Wrestling as we run the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium for only the second time in our history. We couldn't fill it last year. Can we fill it tonight? Without further ado, let's get into the show with, the first time ever, a pre-show match, as the Ring Generals defeat Blazing Saddles when Marv Stadler defeats Cowboy Brad Blaze by pinfall with a wheelbarrow bomb. Kicking off the show with two of our budding tag teams. Well, one of our budding tag teams and one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Get the crowd warmed up and ready for where it all begins again. Of course, a capacity crowd of 2,000 people here at the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium. And this match does indeed get them hyped up and ready. And it is time to begin the main show as out comes Team Progress. They come out to the ring and George Wolf gets on the mic and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to where it all begins again. And what better way to kick off this show than to introduce you to the stars. You are looking at the most gold-studded unit in professional wrestling history because we've said it before. We're not here to be stars. We're not here to be glory hunters. We are here to get it done in that ring, and that has made us successful. We were born better than anybody else on this roster, and we worked damn hard since day one to make sure that we are still the best. And I've been told year in and year out that there's only one championship in professional wrestling that makes you the man, and I hold it. I'm the best, and I have next to me some of the best in the world. And you know why? It's because I've got to tell them everything that I know. Robin DeLay is a monster and he holds gold around his waist. Logan Wolfsbane is a natural freak athlete. And there isn't nobody in this damn territory that can stop him, and that's why he holds the Mid-Atlantic Championship. And tonight, Team Progress will walk out the same they walked in. The best in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, as we get started with Island Boy Apollo taking on Scythe. And Scythe defeats Island Boy Apollo with an underworld spike. It's a very similar match that we saw 2 years ago at this event, with Island Boy Apollo just throwing his elbows, his arms, his everything he has at the monster Scythe, and Scythe just shrugging it off. Scythe just not caring about Island Boy Apollo's attacks, just enjoying the pain. And the monster seems to be back in full swing as he hits the ropes, and he just destroys Island Boy Apollo. Vicious, brutal beatdown, finishing it off with an underworld spike. And Island Boy Apollo has also got a new gimmick, which got a very good rating. Good. After the match, Scythe picks up Vinny Cruz. He goes over to Vinny Cruz and he looks him up and down and he just picks him up by the throat and throws him across the ring. Vinny Cruz is like trying to beg off Scythe, like, don't do it. A big boot to Vinny Cruz's face. Battered and bloody, he gets chokeslammed through the announcer's table. It seems like when Vinny Cruz was talking about consequences, he wasn't playing around. And Frosure is in the interview area and he says, "Dewey, I've been told you're one of the greatest technical wrestlers in the world, bro. And you might be. I've fought you before and I've seen it. I've seen it in your eyes. You are great. But you don't have that motivation, you don't have that drive like I do, bro. You call yourself the local celebrity. You're a star. Well, I believe it. But that makes you complacent. That gives you a weakness. Whereas you're looking at me and I'm a guy trapped in the corner on my last leg and I'm crawling. I'm crawling to events like this because you know what? It's all I got left. I got 2 months to prove that I'm still worth taking a punt on. I got 2 months to take that opportunity, bro. And you better believe that I'm going to crawl and I'm going to scratch and I'm going to claw. Because a desperate man can do desperate things. And Kamikaze does indeed defeat El Mitico Jr. by pinfall with a reverse 450 splash, earning himself a contract back here in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. Good stuff from Kamikaze. This is probably just allow these two to just have a flips match. As much as El Mitico Jr. can do some great technical wrestling. This is just a fast-paced, adrenaline rush, high-flying, lucha-style match with El Mitico Jr. acting as the base so Kamikaze can do some ridiculous stunts, big springboard 450s and shit like that, standing moonsaults, coast to coast. He uses the monitor, the usual Kamikaze spot fest from the man we know and love. Well, probably hate. He's a bit of a bastard. And Devil May Care defeat Team Progress. Not a good way for Team Progress to start off the night when Acid defeats Papa Dan with an Acid Rain Bomb. Devil May Care win the Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Championships for the second time? I think it's the second time. It might be the third, but I think it's the second time. Good stuff from everyone involved here. As Team Progress, the tag team, doesn't exactly have a great tag team championship reign. It swaps back to the Devil May Care team. A good night for Devil May Care, because remember, Kamikaze is apparently affiliated with Devil May Care, considering he was the man under the Shinikami mask. So, titles back in the hands of Acid and Stuntman, and Kamikaze has made his way back onto the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling roster. Dewey Archer gets on the mic in the interview area and he says, Fro, you don't think I'm desperate? You don't think that I'm at the end of my rope? Your contract might be up in December, but I haven't done anything for the last year. A couple of years ago, I was fighting Ernest Youngman. I was the guy. I was beating Ernest Youngman. I was being recognized as the greatest technical wrestler on this damn planet. And you know where I sit now? I may have won the Sam Keith Classic, and goddamn did I deserve that. But I sit here with no singles victories in 2020. You don't think I'm desperate? You don't think I'll do anything to win this match tonight and become the number one contender? Well, you better check yourself. Because I am going to fight tooth and nail to win this match. You better watch out and take me seriously. Because I might just upset you. And Logan Wolfsbane also in the interview area says, American Elemental, I know you're good. I've seen it, I know you're good. But your arms are just too short to box with God. I'm the most naturally gifted athlete on this roster. I am clinical, I am ruthless, and I am brutal. And tonight, American Elemental, I will show you that you can't just get what you want if you work hard enough for it. People are born champions. And you were not. As we move on to our number one contenders match. And Fro Shore defeats Dewey Archer by pinfall with the sure thing. This match, Dewey Archer tries to control the match, and for a good 8-9 minutes, Dewey Archer is actually able to control the match, able to stop Fro, technically breaking him down, just working him down in the gritty Dean Waldorf style of nasty, grindy technical wrestling, just making sure Fro has nowhere to go. And eventually Fro, frustrated, breaks out in that babyface momentum style that we know Fro to do, hits the ropes, hitting those shoulder blocks, those lariats, those drop kicks, trying to pick up the pace, trying to make sure that Dewey Archer never feels comfortable, never feels like he can work down the match. But Dewey Archer is just too good. And he keeps grinding Fro down. He keeps working him down, diffusing the situation with his charismatic technical wrestling that he has been known for over the years. And he is a sensational performance by Dewey Archer. But in the end, Fro starts to show some technical prowess. His big striking style isn't working, so he's got to go hold for hold. He's got to reverse the Dewey Archer maneuvers. He's got to get behind Dewey Archer. He's got to work those technical maneuvers of his own. And Fro proves that, if he is backed in the corner, if he does have to win, then he can pull out some ridiculous things. And tonight he manages to show that he is able to be a technical wrestler if that's what he needs to do. And he picks up the victory with a sure thing. Good stuff from Fro. As I think we might be going straight into the title match, so indeed we are in a 76 B-. Superb wrestling, good heat. Logan Wolfsbane defeats American Elemental with a belly-to-belly suplex. Logan makes defense number 2 of his Mid-Atlantic Championship title. Great stuff from these guys as American Elemental tries to use a mixture of high-flying and technical wrestling to wear Logan Wolfsbane down. You know, hitting that top rope, trying to fly at the freak of nature that is Logan Wolfsbane. Just trying to use those flying cross bodies, those flying drop kicks to keep the big man down. But Logan Wolfsbane will not go down. He's a big lad. He's 260, 270 pounds, and he's able to shrug off those big drop kicks, those big high flying cross bodies, and he's able to just shrug off the attacks of American Elemental and keep moving forward. You know, unlike the match, a similar kind of match that we had last year or not last year, but we had recently with American Elemental and El Mitico Jr. against Scythe in their separate matches. You know, he's shrugging off these big, high-flying maneuvers. And unlike Scythe, Logan Wolfsbane isn't purely concerned with inflicting pain. Logan Wolfsbane wants to win. And so Logan Wolfsbane is reversing these high-flying maneuvers. Remember, high-flying maneuvers have a lot of risk. These are high-risk maneuvers, and Logan Wolfsbane is exploiting that risk, exploiting those weaknesses, and making sure that if American Elemental wants to try these massive high-flying moves, then if he's unlucky, that risk is not going to pay off, and Logan Wolfsbane's going to punish him. You know, Logan Wolfsbane is a technical wrestler at times too. He's able to inflict pain using those technical maneuvers. You know, he loves his Boston Crab, but he can use that half crab to really exert the pressure on one of the legs, on the back of American Elemental, trying to really inflict the pain on the lower back. Because remember, if your lower back is in seriously damaged, you're not going to be hitting any high flying maneuvers. You're not going to be able to stand up properly on the top turnbuckle and hit some sort of flip in the air. Your back's just going to give way, and it's going to be horrible pain for American Elemental. And indeed, eventually Logan Wolfsbane, with that advantage, works down that back, really brutalizing the lower back of American Elemental. A mixture of, you know, like I said, a half crab, maybe a washboard. I can't remember what that move is called that Danielson used to do on the indies, but like that kind of move, and also just a mixture of strikes too, just stomps to the lower back, nasty drop kick when he's in a seated position to the lower back, just viciously brutalizing American Elemental's lower back, and eventually American Elemental goes for a moonsault, and his back does indeed give way. He collapses to the mat, and Logan waits for him to stand belly to belly. And Logan Wolfsbane is still the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Champion. As we head to the interview area, where Logan Wolfsbane has his sunglasses on, and he says, "You know, George Wolf, there's only one championship in the wrestling world that makes you number one, and it sits around your waist. You beat me. To be the man, you gotta beat the man, and you beat me in June. I'll admit that. But I gotta tell you, I know. I've seen it in your eyes every time you cut that promo. I've seen it in your eyes that you're thinking in the back of your mind, in that deep, dark subconscious that you don't want to access, that deep, dark subconscious that you don't want to think about. You're thinking the big question that nobody wants to ask. Can you do it again? And you don't know the answer to that, and that terrifies you, George, and I don't blame you, because I know the answer to that question. I know the answer to that question because I always do. The answer to that question, George, is no. Because you were in there with Ernest Youngman, a guy who took you a lot less seriously than he should have. A guy who got to see you grow up in this company. A guy who had a 6-month hiatus from professional wrestling and then got signed by this company and took every single opportunity he got while you toiled in the mid-card. And yeah, I didn't take you as seriously as I should have. But you're not in there with a guy who's underestimating you tonight, George. You're in there with the wrestling machine. You're in there with the best there's ever been. You're in there with the assassin of the squared circle, George. And I said it once and I'll say it again. The future goes through me. You want to walk around with your goon squad, you want to walk around with the Three Stooges and call yourself a professor of professional wrestling, then you can go ahead. But I'm in here to win. I'm not in here to teach. I'm not in here to feel good about myself. I'm in here to win titles, and prove that I'm the best. Because every step I take in that ring is the greatest pleasure life offers me. And we're going to go out there and we're going to have a hell of a match, and it will be a hell of a match, George. And at the end of the night, Logan will say, Ernest Youngman will stand once again with the World Championship, because that is the championship that proves the other man. And you want to talk about men, you want to talk about Hollywood Bret Starr, you want to talk about Bradford Peverell, about Puerto Rican power, you want to talk about these men, and you want to call yourself a part of that group, and you have that giant gold around your waist, and it does prove that you're in that conversation, but you gotta earn it. It's one thing to wear that championship, it's another thing to prove that you deserve it, and tonight, you have one giant roadblock. So come out here, kid, and prove that you're the best. Prove that you deserve that championship around your waist, because I tell you what, giants are slain, and diamonds fade, but you better be damn sure that Ernest Youngman is forever. Ernest Youngman fired up. Can George Wolf prove that he deserves that championship? It's the rematch of the decade. Yes, George Wolf once again defeats Ernest Youngman. Ernest Youngman with that flashy, charismatic grappling style that the fans here in MAW just absolutely adore. Going from hold to hold with a flashy smile on his face as he works over George Wolf. But George Wolf isn't taking it lying down. He goes from hold to hold too. George Wolf, he might be a brawler at heart. He might be a big lad, but he has those technical basics. He was trained by Sam Keith. His dad is Ed Mutton. The guy is born in this business, and he's a student of the game. And he is going for hold. He is matching Ernest Youngman's technical prowess, and he is fighting. And you see George Wolf, he's not backing down. He's in there with probably the best technical wrestler in the business today on the independent scene. And he isn't backing down. He's not scared of Ernest Youngman. He is going hold for hold. And if Ernest Youngman thinks he can work over George Wolf in a technical manner, it's not going to work. George Wolf is escaping those holds, and he's grinding down, he's working down the legs of Ernest Youngman. He is brutally punishing the Assassin of the Squared Circle. But even through it all, the Assassin of the Squared Circle keeps coming. He keeps floating over. He keeps moving into another hold. He keeps trying to put that sequence together. But it's just not working, because George Wolf is a monster, he's a machine, and he mixes in those technical wrestling prowess with his physical advantages that he's just got over Ernest Youngman. He's just stronger. He's just faster, and every step of the way he seems to have Ernest Youngman countered. He's able to counter every single sequence Ernest Youngman tries to put out at him. And in the end, George Wolf does manage to work down the Assassin of the Squared Circle, manages to work down the wrestling machine. Able to put together a sequence of his own, stop that crossface chicken wing, hit him with a spear, 2 count. Hit him with a big brainbuster, 2 count. And then he beats the Assassin of the Squared Circle with his own game and locks in a figure 4 leg lock, middle of the ring. And Ernest has nowhere to go and is forced to tap to the big, bad wolf. Hope you guys enjoyed today. I certainly did. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Leave a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Check out the rest of the series. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're feeling especially generous, go ahead and check out the link to my Patreon. Links in the description if you're hearing me ramble. Link to my Twitter is in the description. And that is the end of the season, I suppose. The usual. Of course, we have 2 more episodes left of the year, but storylines, big long-term storylines tend to last from November to October here, because we have the big season finale show here in October. So there's a lot of moving parts that are going to start going after next episode. So I think it's been an interesting couple of months. I've really enjoyed booking it this month. This year, and I'm really looking forward to the next 12 months, which for those of you who haven't been watching is going to be a kind of a regionalization process. Next year we plan to run the Ace Speedway, 5,000 capacity building for where it all begins again, and on that show we will become a regional company. We'll grow from small to regional. We will start expanding into either the Great Lakes or the Southeast, and we will reopen the dojo and reopen that usual MAW spirit and style that we're used to having. So I do hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys will join me next time for the Proving Ground, and if you do, I will see you guys then. Peace out.